You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever.
Stay hungry.
Hungry. Foolish. Stay hungry, stay foolish.
This is the eCommerce All-Stars podcast, brought to you with heart by Nadimo.com.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining today's podcast with your host, Brandon Moskwa. Today I'm excited we have Salena Knight on the line. She's a retail strategist, and you can find out more about her at SalenaKnight.com. She has some excellent resources there. Thanks for joining us today, Salena.
Thanks so much for having me, Brandon. I'm looking forward to giving you some great advice on how to make more money.
That sounds fantastic, and I think our listeners would appreciate that. I was hoping before we get into that, though, if you could just give people a little bit of a background on yourself and what got you started in the retail industry specifically. And just to preface this call for everybody, Salena's background is primarily in retail as opposed to not necessarily e-commerce as e-commerce heavy as some of our guests, which I love to do, have retail guests on because they can just kind of pull our heads out of the sand, so to speak, for all of us e-commerce people and start reminding ourselves about other aspects of the business. And not only that, but there are a lot of retail listeners on the line as well. So thanks again, Salena. I'll let you take it from here and just kind of introduce yourself and what got you started in the industry and stuff.
Fabulous. Well, I will kind of preface that. I'm sorry if I gave you the impression that I only do retail, but I have been a staunch e-commerce supporter right from the beginning. In fact, I was one of the first businesses on Facebook back in 2008. So I've been in e-commerce pretty much since the birth of online stores. I had the most ugliest, email, website version 0.1, v.1.0, ugly website with purple font once upon a time. So I've been there and I've seen all of the changes, and I still remember back in the day when you could post something on Facebook and people would see it and people would buy off Facebook because you had so little followers back then. I think we had 5,000 followers right at the beginning and we got so much engagement. So I am all over e-commerce just as much as bricks and mortar. So how did I get here? Well, I remember back when I first met my husband, we got married really, really quickly. We met and got married in 4 months, and that was nearly 15 years ago, because when you know, right? And he had come over from England, and because we got married so fast, we didn't even know much about each other's money structures. I had some property and he had some property, so we went and saw a financial advisor. And at the time, I was working for the government as an arborist. And I remember the guy sitting us down saying, okay, what is it you want in life? And I said to him, well, by the time I'm 40, I want to be able to choose when I work and how often I work, how many hours I work, and I want to be able to decide how much money I earn. And my husband looked at me and goes, you work for the government, lady. You work 7 to 4 and you're on a fixed wage with no career progression. Because as an arborist, it's like there's nowhere else to go. You're just an arborist. You can't become the department manager or anything like that, because it's this random little category that sits usually in the engineering or parks department. And I remember him looking at me just saying, "What whatever." Like, okay. And he was a freelancer at the time, so for him the concept wasn't strange. But fast forward 10 years, and there I was opening my first store, and it was the middle of the global financial crisis. So it was 2008 that I opened my first store, and ended up opening a chain of stores, and we had an online store. We went on to win lots and lots of awards, and I got to the point, it was about 7, just under 8 years later, that I realized that I'd processed my business myself out of the business. So it must have been 7 and a bit years, because it was 2015. And I walked into work one day and one of my girls said to me, "Why are you here? It's Friday." And the shop where I had my office was directly across the road from the beach. And I'm like, "No, I'm busy." And she said, "No, you're not. You'll just go in your office and you'll play on Facebook. And then you'll come out and you'll annoy the customers because you've got nothing better to do. And then you'll come and hassle me while I'm trying to work. And then you'll call somebody because you've got nothing else to do." And I remember her taking $5 out of the till and saying, "Go and buy coffee, and I want you to walk to the other end of the beach and come back again," which takes about 90 minutes. And she said, when you come back, I want you to have a plan for how you're going to take Fridays off. wise woman. And I remember walking up and just going, she's, damn her, who does she think she is telling me that I don't need to be here? And of course, by the time I got back, I realized I didn't need to be there. I was literally turning up at work, and I was turning up early. I was coming in at 8:00 in the morning when the shop didn't open till 10, just because I didn't know what else to do if I wasn't working. And it was pretty much a downhill spiral from there. I started doing yoga on Friday mornings, and I hated it. And I think it was about a month later I decided to sell the business, because I realized that the challenge was gone. Like, I'd already grown to several stores. Like, what else was there? I don't know. There was no, not that there was no love for it, but the challenge was gone. And because we sold baby products, my kid was 7 or 8 by this time. And the passion was gone. So I ended up selling the business. And of course, being the kind of person that I am, I like to give people advice, and people were always coming to me with, questions about how to grow their business. And I would just tell them what I'd done. And one of my suppliers actually said to me when I said I was thinking about selling the shop, and I didn't make this decision lightly. I remember the day that I pressed go on the email to say that I was selling the business, and then I had to go into the bathroom and I was sick. It wasn't like I just decided to do it and I was disconnected. It was a huge decision. This had run my life for, 7 years. So moving forward, the business got sold, and I decided to create a course because my friend said to me, my friend that's a supplier said, you should write a book on how to open a shop. And I said, yeah, I should. But what I realized is I hate it when people tell you what to do. Like, go and make more sales. Right. So how do I do that? Or go and find more customers. Yeah. So how do I do that? And I wanted to tell people how I'd done all of those things. And so in this book, I realized books don't really tell you how to do anything. And I started doing all these worksheets, and I started doing little videos on how you could change things inside of your website. And as a result, it kind of turned into a course, because that's the best delivery method. So now that's one of my signature programs. It's called Scale Your Store. It's just been re-released for 2018 with a whole bunch of updated information. And I work one-on-one with clients all around the world to help them grow their business. And I love it.
Right on. It's funny you talked about scaling, because just one of the last podcasts that we did, we talked about scaling a business and basically processitizing, for lack of a proper word, yourself out of a job. And that being, what all business owners should be aiming for, in a sense, is being able to put the processes in place that you're not needed, so that your business is a business. It's not you necessarily. Which I could see. I mean, especially in your case, trying to, having to sell it, it was still a big part of you, but it didn't necessarily need you anymore. And so, yeah, because really, I saw a very visual picture of you trying to push that, send button and not feeling well afterwards and that sort of thing. I can understand exactly why. Sorry.
I think one of the things I try and tell people now is exactly what you were just saying, Brandon, that we start these businesses because we're passionate about what we sell. Okay, yes, there are the drop shippers, but for the most part, people who are in retail are passionate about the thing that they're selling. They truly believe that selling this thing will help other people, just like it helped them. And it doesn't matter if it's fashion, it doesn't matter if it's homewares, it doesn't matter if it's the rope from the previous guest that you had on. The fact is, you believe that if you sell this thing, other people are going to be happy, and as part of the process. And when we believe that so much, it's hard not to get wrapped up in the outcome, which is why we take refunds. we take them so personally. But processing yourself out of the business is one step. But the first step before all of that is just taking that mindset leap to stop being a shopkeeper. And whether that's a virtual shopkeeper or a physical shopkeeper, it is so easy to get ourselves caught up in the day-to-day busy work. Exactly like I did. You just do stuff so that you can feel busy, so that you can feel like you're being successful. And when you think about all the things that you do every day, one of the first things I make people do inside of Scale Your Store is that they have to be really honest with themselves, and they have to say what it is they want from the course. What is the outcome that they want? Because if they don't know what that is, you have no goal to work towards. And if you continue to be a shopkeeper in that I've got to do everything mindset, you will never step up to that business CEO role, or to the business owner, that role where you actually have to take charge and you have to be responsible for the outcomes of the business. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense to me. Yeah.
If I give you a quick
And so,
example, sorry,
yeah,
I told you I
no,
like
that would
talking.
Yeah.
I worked.
Well,
I
then
worked
what better venue to be on than my podcast, right?
I worked with one client who had a physical store, and it was a 12-hour drive from her home. And they'd moved to this town for her husband's job, and then they came back to their hometown. And so she was having to manage this store remotely. And she was saying, I don't know what to do in my 9 hours a day. And it scared the bejesus out of her that once she couldn't be picking orders, or once she couldn't be talking to customers, or once she couldn't be uploading stock onto the website, all these little tasks that we do to fill in our day, once she was sitting remotely and she was solely responsible for driving traffic to the website and driving traffic into the store, it was literally paralyzing for her.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. So from paralyzing, let's move to something that needs to be consistently growing and moving. And is always moving. Your cash flow and profitability. I mean, from a business perspective, I think those are the two most important pieces. I mean, you have to have enough cash flow, cash on hand to function as a business and to grow as a business, and you need to be profitable. So I'd love for you to share your thoughts on that, on those topics.
I 100% agree with you. And one of the things that I think a lot of people overlook, and I always see it when I watch, The Profit or Shark Tank, all those kinds of shows, is they get asked what their numbers are. And then they get asked, does that include your wage? Are you breaking even? Does that include your wage? And the answer is nearly always no. And of course, the sharks or the mentor or the prophet or whoever it is comes back and says, well, then you're not breaking even. If you're not paying yourself a wage, then you aren't meeting all of your expenses. And that is the first thing that I will tell you to do if I was working with you, is I don't care if you're just paying yourself $50 a week, because the minute you put some kind of monetary value on the amount of time that you're working in your business, you will start to resent only being paid $50 for the 40 hours or the 100 hours that you put in. All of a sudden, when it has a value, when your time has a value, two things will happen. You'll either resent it and you'll want to earn more money so you can pay yourself more, or you realize that you're doing all these things in your business that would be way easier to get somebody else to do, or way easier to automate. So that mindset shift of just paying yourself just something is usually the first step that people make into that business CEO role. Is once I get paid to do this thing, now my time has a value.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I like what you said there too about once you put a value on your time, then you have a mindset shift, and you start thinking about, okay, it'd be easier, or it would be more cost effective for me to get somebody else doing this piece, because I'm only making $50 a week, so I need to find someone else to do this within my projected stuck on words, but basically out of what I'm already earning. So I'm only making $50. I better pay somebody else to do this, or get someone else to do this, or automate it through technology and that sort of thing.
Do you know how many hours? Do you know how many hours I see people spending on resizing images? And then I say to them, I've got this guy on Fiverr and he'll do 50 images for $5. And they say, how? It's like, because he's got a program that does it. He doesn't actually do anything other than upload them to his program. And they come back all resized in files of 1200 by 1200, 800 by 800, 400 by 400. And they just can't believe it. They will spend half a day resizing images for their website. You
Yeah.
can give it to some guy and keep him in a job for $5.
Yeah. It's funny because I see a lot of the same. Absolutely.
And uploading products onto the website, just another thing that just really irks me. People who say, I'm going to have to stay up till 2:00 in the morning to get all these products. Because I believe if it's not there, people can't see it, they can't buy it. So I'm always get those products on the website.
Mm-hmm.
Done is better than perfect. I hate when I go to a website and there's no pictures. But if I already know what that product is and I'm already buying from you, I'll skip over that and stick it in my cart anyway. So even if it doesn't have a picture, even if it's going to be 24 hours before the picture goes up, stick it on the website, because if they can't see it, they can't buy it. And every single person who maybe wanted that product and came to your website, how many sales are you losing because you were being a perfectionist? And you just can't be a perfectionist in retail when it comes to making money. Sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and go, I'll get it out there. In the entrepreneurial world, they call it MVP, minimum viable product. Just stick it out there and then you can tweak it as you go.
Absolutely. I am a huge supporter of the MVP approach. Absolutely, 100%. Because the other side of it is get something out there, the minimal viable product, and you may be surprised because you may have wound up spending hours or days on something as simple as getting the right image. And you might find out very quickly that I got it up without an image and made a couple sales, which is now going to pay for those proper images. Or you might find out that images aren't as important to people as you thought. And so now all of a sudden you've got that minimum viable product out, and you can actually move in the right direction based on that. And yeah, okay, so what's the worst that would happen if you put a product page up there without having an image up within 24 hours? That first 24 hours, well, okay, worst case, you don't get any sales. You're not going to have people who are overly disappointed or discouraged because there isn't an image. You might get the odd individual who's not happy about that, and they may send you an email. But if you've got a notification or notice on the site that image is will be up in 24 hours or something like that, there's always those little workarounds that you can put in place that allow you not to be a perfectionist. And I fight that issue myself. I mean, I always want things to be perfect, and then it takes you 10 times longer than it should, and you realize later that it wouldn't have mattered. So you're kicking yourself for having wasted all this extra time. And to me, time wasted is one of the most costly pieces as an entrepreneur, because you're an entrepreneur for many reasons, and everybody has their own. But I mean, you're not an entrepreneur so that you can sit there and fiddle around with product images or the product description for a full day, when you could be spending that time with your family or on growing a business in a different direction, on other things other than micro tasks.
So true.
What are your thoughts?
And look, I'm not the poster child. I do it as well. I actually took, so the Scale Your Story is that was the second version of the course, because we updated it because technology changes. And I think it was in December last year, I looked at the course again and I was like, quite a few things in the industry have changed. I would really like to redo this. So I stupidly, I kick myself now. I took it down from sale. But unfortunately, it took me nearly 6 months to go and get the research and to re-record the videos and do all these things, because I am a bit of a high achiever. And so for 6 months, I lost out on tens of thousands of dollars of sales when those people could have gotten started. The information was still relevant. It's just that extra things have happened since then. And so I look back now going, why did you do that? Like, why did you stop something that was bringing in money? And I don't know why we do this. We have this tendency to go, if it's not perfect, I can't sell it. But it doesn't mean that your customers aren't still going to love it. It doesn't mean that the end result, which is your customer being really happy, maybe they wanted version 1 and they don't care about version 2. You are trying to make a decision on what's going to make them happy without having the facts. So I'm just all for stick it all up, throw everything at it, see what sticks, and make money. At the end of the day, if you're not making money, it's not a business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that entirely. I mean, the whole reason you're starting a business, or should be anyways, is for profitability. be making money. Otherwise, I think I forget who said it, but it, if a business is not making money, it's just a hobby.
Or it's just a
And
job, even worse.
yeah, well, that's even worse. Yeah, absolutely. Well, a job that doesn't pay you very well.
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I look at it from the perspective of if it's, as a hobby, because hobbies you throw money into and you don't expect to get it back. A job, at least you're hopefully getting paid. So that's just my perspective on that. But you kind of touched a little bit on customer experience as well. I don't want to dive into that entire area, but when when you're talking about cash flow and you're talking about profitability, one thing that comes up in my discussions with clients and just with discussions on social networks too, um, is around the idea of building your brand versus making sales. And I like to bring this up because to me, I think it's something that gets missed quite often as people get in this mind frame of I have to build my brand in particular. It has to have a specific look and feel and all of this, but at the same time, it kind of goes back to what we're talking about, where you end up spending all this time, energy, and money on certain things that may in the end may matter, but maybe not in the initial stages or when you're starting to build your business. I'd just like to know what your thoughts on that are.
Oh, you found a topic I love, customer experience
Oh,
and branding. And I'm not a branding expert. I've just worked with a lot of businesses, and everybody ties up the concept of a brand as being a logo or being fonts or being colors. A brand is how you connect with your customers. That's the be all and end all. It's how you make them feel and how you talk to them and why they relate to you. And you can do all of that stuff with no money. It doesn't cost anything to have a conversation with your customers on social media. It doesn't cost anything to write really cool order confirmation emails. That was one of the things I always used to get comments on, is we would have these order confirmation emails that said, here, just in case you've forgotten, here's what you've ordered. And then it was, we're going to pack your order as carefully as a chef would chop chilies and then go to the bathroom afterwards, or something along that. It was really quite funny. I can't remember now. But it would always make people laugh. And then we would get emails back saying, oh my goodness, funniest order confirmation email ever. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to lighten up being a parent, because it's really difficult. And we were dealing with babies as well. So people have got a lot on their plate. So if we could just bring that little bit of spark into somebody's day, just that little smile, it doesn't cost anything. And I don't want you to get caught up in the branding and the logo. You can do that later, once you've really cemented who it is you want your business to be. And if you Google online, there are all these brand archetype quizzes. I love them. I love them to bits, because they give you this information about how you want your brand to be seen. And I always tell people, as we go through courses or as we work together, is you start off with a store and by the end you have a brand. Because you think about Apple, people will line up for days to buy something and they don't even know what it is. They just want it because they believe in the culture. And it's the same if you're a woman and you're listening, you'll know the Lululemon athletic brand. People go there to do yoga in their stores because they just want to connect. Or you think about if you're in England, people buy the Harrods reusable bag for $10. Like, it's just a reusable bag, but they want to be associated with that name. And Harrods has luxury, Lululemon has community, and Apple just has prestige and being arty. That doesn't cost anything to build. That's just you being true and authentic and honest and communicating that with your customer. I get a little bit passionate about that. Sorry.
No, that's great. That's awesome, because I would agree with I'm gonna say with most, because I don't want to say with everything, because I may have missed something there, but it sure was at least 99.9% of what you said I would agree with, because to be completely honest, I mean, it all sounds exactly like what I believe in. I mean, it's not the logo, it's not the font. It's about who you are authentically as a company, and initially that starts out as who you are and what you want your business to represent. And as you grow, and you start to processitize yourself out. Again, I'm using a word that I'm thinking I'm inventing here on the spot, but anyway, as you start to kind of build your business around putting yourself out of a job, you're going to put that authentic nature into your business. And like you said, with the funny comedic order confirmations and that sort of thing, I mean, that's what you wanted to see in it, and you understood that people with new babies are tired, feel overworked, feel all those feelings and everything that goes with it, that a slight little bit of humor can make an entire day for somebody in that stage. I know that personally because we have an 8-month-old, or a 9-month-old, I should say, and a almost 4-year-old, and I was there recently, and you're all of that. So you get that little bit of humor in an email that comes to you from an order you made, and all of a sudden everything, you feel like you're part of, like they've made your day by you buying their product, and it's just those little things mean so much,
and people don't forget them. That's the best part. It's free advertising because you'll remember that brand and you'll tell other people, I got the funniest email from this store. And then, of course, they're going to tell they'll remember who you are. So building that connection, you don't have to have thousands of dollars. You don't have to have millions of dollars. You just have to be true and authentic. And can we tie this back to how you can make some more money with this? Obviously, if you're going to connect with your customers, you're going to make more money because they're going to love you. But also just let's go right back to the beginning to something super simple, because I always love to give at least one tip that you can take away right now. So if you want to do this connection thing, if you really want to be true and authentic and start building your brand, and maybe you don't want to write the order confirmation emails right now, I just want you to go and pick your top 3 products that you sell. So look in your e-commerce dashboard or look in your POS dashboard and find the thing that you sell the most of. And then just go and rewrite the copy. Go and look at the product description and actually look at the product. Pick the product up, turn it around. Look at the emails that people write to you. Look at the questions that people ask on social media. Google the product and see what people are asking. And then go and rewrite the copy so that, imagine you were talking to somebody in real life and you said to somebody, I love this candle. Every time I smell this candle, it makes me think of the Caribbean, or the Caribbean as you guys call it. It takes me back to that time when I was sitting on the beach with a Mai Tai in my hand and not a care in the world. So every time I want that feeling, I light this candle. You can write that. No one says you can't. You don't have to write, 4-inch soy candle with coconut and lime fragrance. You have complete control over the copy you can write. And if you write about even your holiday or this made up holiday, then all of a sudden I'm going to connect with that product. I want to feel like I'm on holidays when I burn a candle. I want to have that, that 2 minutes of solitude where I just wish and think about something. Maybe I have a connection to a holiday that I had, or maybe I think about the holiday I want to take. So you're giving me that escapism inside of the copy. And you just have to write as true to your brand. So great brands who do it are people like Under Armour. They have fantastic marketing. It's all about pushing yourself to the limits. So if you do one of those brand archetype quizzes, once you've done it, then go and look at the brand. They'll always give you brands that do it really well. So maybe it's Mercedes, maybe it's Jaguar, maybe it's someone like Under Armour or Rolls-Royce. Cars quite often figure in there. But look at how they build those brands and go, right, do I want to be seen like that? Do I want to be the person who pushes it? So, for example, my brand archetype is a hero and a ruler. So I'm the hero. I inspire you to take action. I inspire you to be the best. But I'm also a little bit of a ruler, which means I'll kick your ass when you don't do it. I'm the one who will tell you what to do. But in the process, I'm really going to inspire you to take action. So I make sure when I write that copy that I do say you can do this. I do say you've got this. You can make this happen. There's nothing stopping you. But then I also have some of my ruler words, which is telling people what to do. And that doesn't cost anything. Those quizzes are all over the internet for free. You'll always end up with the same response because it's about you. And then just take that information and use it to connect with your customers. Use it to write your social media posts. Use it to do the product descriptions. Use it for the order confirmation emails. All of that costs nothing. But if you do something memorable, you will be remembered. You don't have to give free gifts. You don't have to put chocolates. You don't have to even gift wrap, even though all those things are nice. You just have to do something memorable, and then people will tell other people about you and they'll buy more stuff.
Very, very interesting. That's a very, very wise thought, but it's also one you would think people would understand as commonplace, but it's not. And I mean, everybody thinks, oh, I have to add a chocolate or send them something in their order, with their order to say thank you. You don't. I mean, it doesn't hurt in some cases, but there's all these other ways that you can make it work, and just by being authentic to yourself and to your business is a great way. And I love the idea of those quizzes as well, because again, that's it's free to do, and then going and rewriting your copy on your top 3 products. That's excellent advice. Now that said, I typically end the show with, what are your final words of wisdom? And you've given us some great pieces, but if you had to pick just one final words of wisdom, what would that be? And then how can people get a hold of you?
One final lot of words of wisdom. Oh, this is hard. One of my clients calls me Yoda because I'm always giving her so much great advice. I think my biggest tip is be authentic and create that connection, but also remember that you are in this to make money. Because when you forget that you're in this to make money, when you try to take that altruistic, I'm just here for the people, that's fine if you've got an inheritance to live off. But at the end of the day, you can make money with integrity. It's just up to you to work out how to do that.
Very interesting. And how can people get a hold of you?
So I'm at salenaknight.com, so SalenakNight. And also, if people here are looking at Facebook ads for e-commerce, just to let you know that I'm running a free masterclass, which you can pop along to, where I show you the 3 hacks that people always overlook and how you can use them to make more profitable e-commerce ads. And you can grab that at salenaknight.com/marketing. And I'm sure we can pop that in the show notes as well.
Absolutely, we can. Yep, that'll be in there for sure for everyone. Fantastic. Well, again, I apologize, Salena, because in the beginning I mentioned retail as being your foremost area, but as we've talked, it's very, very clear to me and clear to everybody who listened today that e-commerce is as much as, if not more so, an integral part of what you've done in the past and what you're doing now. So.
No, but I say thank you, because clearly I have not communicated that very well. So I need to go back. This is awesome. People, if someone gives you this kind of feedback, take it on board. I'm not offended. It just means I haven't done a very good job letting you know that that's what I love to talk about. So one of the jobs we'll put on our list for this week is to go back and look at the copy on our website and see how we're not communicating that very well.
Thank you very much for being on the show. It was fantastic having you on as a guest, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks so much for having me. I really hope that your listeners got some value.
You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever.
Stay hungry.
Hungry. Foolish. Stay hungry. Stay foolish.
This is the eCommerce All-Stars podcast, brought to you with heart by Nadimo.com.